morning. I'm sorry to have kept you waiting, but I'm afraid my walk has become rather sillier lately, and it takes me quite a while to get to work. Hello and welcome to another edition of the Stench of Truth. Operation Vigilant Shield is going on even as we speak, and this of course has Northcom and the military being used for domestic purposes in the name of homeland security, and this will comprise a series of exercises that the military is very reticent about discussing. I need not point out that this is in direct contravention to the Posse Commitatus and other laws which have been designed to protect the Republic against a takeover by military forces, which is a great idea and one that should be embraced still. But here we have again, in the name of so-called homeland security, we have the military being used in a civilian capacity. More taking away of our civil rights and more exercising thereof by the military in this capacity, which will only lead to greater abuses and more loss of civil liberties down the road, and paves the way for a smooth transition for the military into every sphere of civilian life in this country, and it's a bunch of bullshit. Rahm Emanuel, otherwise known as Rambo, he wants to force mandatory government service on all people aged 18 to 25. And presumably Obama likes this idea as well, as he has talked about it before himself. This is only the beginning though, folks. There's going to be mandatory service for every particular age group in some capacity or another. So apparently get used to the idea of slavery having come home again to the United States, as we're all forced to serve the fucking government in some way, shape, or form. It's coming, mark my words, it's going to be here. I've been following a rather interesting story which I first read about in Fortean Times, which is a great magazine. I highly recommend it to anybody who's interested in anomalies or strange science, hidden history, that sort of thing. Also the paranormal, other bits and pieces along those lines. If you haven't read it before, I highly recommend it. It's a great magazine. I always read it from cover to cover. But anyway, the story in question involves feet washing up on the shores of Western Canada and Western United States. So far, there have been 7 feet that have washed up on shore, still wearing sneakers. A couple of them have been matched. But obviously with 7 they can't all be matched with their counterpart. But this is just a really bizarre story. Ocean current experts and others have weighed in, and the current consensus is that this is from people who have committed suicide, and because the body disintegrates the way it does, and tennis shoes have a tendency to have some buoyancy, that gives the reason why the feet remain and wash up on shore. So if you see any feet in sneakers out there washing up on your beach, you're part of a big fucking mystery. There is some posturing going on right now in Congress, just some political showmanship over the auto industry bailout, and the only thing that can be said about this is the incredible amount of fraud and manipulation and bullshit that has happened in the auto industry, the banking industry, the finance industry. Everybody who has taken part or wants to take part in the fucking $700 billion bailout is this fraud that has been perpetrated on the employees of these companies and on the American people is being rewarded. And whether or not in this instance the automakers receive their money or not, you can bet on one thing: that whatever the elites and the powers that be want to have happen will happen. That means they'll get their money if they're supposed to, they won't if they're not. So whatever you want doesn't matter. We saw that amply demonstrated in the vote for the $700 billion bailout, which was rejected wholeheartedly by the American people. Iraq and the U.S. have reached a deal on security which forces the Iraqis to accept the presence of U.S. troops until 2012. Of course, the Iraqis are not very happy about this, and we should be very unhappy about this as well, because it means our troops will not be coming home anytime soon. Now, why do we need to stay there? Considering the fact that violence is considerably down, the Iraqis certainly are capable of handling things themselves, but we're going to have a presence there so that we have troops in the region, so that we can go in to other countries. Now, they made it a part of this deal that we can't attack other countries from Iraq. Well, how fucking difficult is it going to be to have you transfer those troops onto a ship and send them over to Afghanistan or Pakistan or fucking Iran, or just ignore the fucking agreement? It wouldn't be the first goddamn time the United States has unilaterally ignored agreements that they've entered into. So much for that. But of course, Obama has promised that he will have the troops removed from Iraq within 16 months of taking office, which would take that up to May 2010. Now, presumably, these troops will be removed from Iraq only to be placed in Afghanistan, Pakistan, or any of the other areas in which he wants to increase our troop levels. So much for having the troops come home. And finally, at the G20 had the idiot President Bush warning the other countries to avoid protectionism, i.e. tariffs. In other words, he was championing yet again the idea of free trade. Free trade is not free. Everything that has come out of any free trade agreement that we've entered into has meant disaster for this fucking country. What we need now is more tariffs. What we need now is protectionism to protect our own economy, our own industries, and our own people. And that's exactly what every country should be doing. So fucking Bush at the G20 says, don't fall for that protectionism thing. Don't fall back on the tariff idea. No. We want to promote more and more free trade, so every country can end up just like us, with all of their jobs shipped away somewhere where people are making next to nothing. Standard of living is down in the toilet, so why don't we level the playing field so everybody lives in fucking misery? Thank you. Good night.